The site GoFundMe has indefinitely frozen donations to the independent media outlet, the Grayzone, left-leaning independent media outlet, due to external concerns. According to the Grayzone, GoFundMe's actions follow a, quote, campaign of repression against the media outlet's personnel by the British and Ukrainian governments. GoFundMe has reportedly frozen all money raised in the Grayzone's recent fundraiser to provide more permanent positions to some of the outlet's regular contributors.
On August 19th, the Grayzone asked to know why GoFundMe has refused to authorize the transfer of funds they raised, and a member of the site's trust and safety team, naming themselves as Sabrina, reportedly emailed the following statement. Our number one goal here is ensuring that the money from GoFundMe fundraisers always gets to the right place, so we really appreciate you helping us to make sure GoFundMe is a safe place to give. Due to some external concerns, we need to review your fundraiser to make sure it complies with our terms of service. Please keep in mind that our processes are followed to ensure your own safety. I'll keep you updated as soon as possible. Excuse me. Over $90,000 from 1,100 contributors is now in the balance. Obviously, this is something we've seen before with, I believe, the Canadian trucker protests and a whole host of other things. This is deeply concerning. Right? And them citing their terms of service, that like nobody reads that. That's obviously BS. These are supposed to be platforms for raising money for causes. The money is raised, right? And now they're saying we're not going to give it to you. People gave that money for a specific reason, right? They gave it to clearly for this outlet to pay out these people. And now the company wants to say, no, obviously that's wildly unethical. What we need to learn more about, and would not at all surprise me to discover, is that this was not, we don't know, but it would not at all surprise me if this was not freely chosen by GoFundMe, but whether they've had conversations with the State Department or British officials or intelligence saying that this is like a pro-Russian organization, obviously because it's the viewpoints of the people on it. We've had them on the show many times, depart from Western U.S. British orthodoxy on what to do.
It's an assuredly anti-imperialist news org that frequently is critical of the U.S. military establishment, including figures like Victoria Nuland and architects of much of the last 20 years of U.S. Imperial practice. And so it is routinely described as a Putin puppet organization, similarly characterized as much of RT, but it's not RT. It's not even like superficially like Russia Today was like literally a Russian broadcast. This is a completely independent news broadcast, and it needs its funding to fund the kind of journalism it does. It's more vulnerable to these kind of attacks than, say, if some corporate outlet gets throttled by a YouTube algorithm or what have you. That's also bad, obviously. But I do think independent news is uniquely valuable. Uniquely vulnerable because it is
uniquely valuable and uniquely vulnerable.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've done reporting. We featured reporting by Li Fang and Li Fang describing the flagging of outlets like the Grayzone that have been critical of the U.S. intervention being flagged as misinformation by Ukrainian officials. Ukrainian officials using their power to leverage both the State Department and the social media companies themselves to say you should take this down because it's misinformation, or it's again, we hear that this is a Putin narrative, even if it's true, even if it's just like a straightforward evaluation of the current state of the war. It's being described as some Putin emboldening narrative. So I would not. In fact, I would be surprised to learn that kind of thing is not going on at all here.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a horrible thing to happen. At the same time, I do think it's instructive for people to recognize that we waste so much energy characterizing the onslaughts on independent media by partisan bias, when it's really about independence. It's not left, right, it's top down. And this is part of what my frustration was with the Twitter files, because I think it was so important, but the choice to frame it as an attack on the right, when it was attack on vulnerable media organizations that were not treading the State Department line, made it easier for mainstream, predominantly liberal news to ignore it. My interest in having it characterized more neutrally was not just, I want to make sure the left gets its time in the sun, but from personal experience with having a long record of working with and learning from reporters like those at the Grayzone and other organizations who were repeatedly throttled on social media before like under the Jack regime and under the Elon Musk regime. And to the extent that we should all be joining forces to fight back against this, acting as though the real issue people should care about is a pogrom against the right, when there are right-leaning actors. We saw this from the Twitter files, that Trump tried to target and get things taken down and get his agenda passed on YouTube, Twitter and stuff as well. That it's going to be a recurring problem unless we get to the root of it and stop acting like I'm only interested in the story insofar it shows that the right is being victimized or the left is being victimized. It's the bottom, the organizations that are closer to reflecting the interest and the will of the people, that are getting victimized by those who control all the power at the top.
When PayPal had a similar thing, I can't remember exactly. It was something they said they would withhold funds you put in there if they're being used to support misinformation, and then it was walked back a little bit, at least after coverage from our show and others, consumer outrage. If you're a user of GoFundMe, of PayPal, of things like this, you need to speak up and say, I'm not going to participate in this. This is ridiculous. This is absurd. I'm not going. When we use these platforms to transact money, it's with a implicit, if not explicit, idea that they're going to randomly seize the money and not give it where it's supposed to go, especially in service of a specific political foreign policy agenda that, again, that the Grayzone doesn't support, and that the people giving it money clearly don't support. They're not confused about what they're giving money to, right? No one is paying Max Blumenthal's salary with any ambiguity about the views he holds.
I thought the Grayzone was Brianna Joy Gray's secondary publication. No, although I have joked that would be the title of my hypothetical MSNBC show.
The Grayzone.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's right. And that is part of why I got to say, as much as I deeply disagree with the politics of Kanye West and the anti-Semitic remarks that he made last year.
What happened to him was
being
disturbing.
fully debanked by J.P. Morgan. We're in a situation where federally backed enormous banks are in a position where they can just say, no, we don't want to work with you. That is, I would argue, an overreach in terms of the extent to which they should be making these decisions based on their personal preferences, because they certainly didn't have any problem working with Jeffrey Epstein for all of those years.
Yeah, maybe they moved the person from the Kanye account onto the Jeffrey Epstein account. All right, well, we will certainly continue following that. Hopefully, we'll have an update with some resolution in that situation. Again, there is always a possibility it was some kind of mistake or thing like that. That does happen. Obviously, seems pretty politically motivated in this case, but we'll follow that still. We can keep playing the end of show music. I was coming to a closing point. Tomorrow on Rising, we'll take a look at how Sweden fared during the pandemic. The country notoriously had a starkly different handling of the COVID-19 virus, so we're going to check in on the scoreboard with respect to that.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who prefer to listen while you're on the go, we're now available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Bye-bye.